So I'm going to call this meeting to order at 5:40 p.m. So hello, welcome to the December meeting of the City of Pittsburgh LGBTQIA Commission. Our first order of business is to do roll call. So
Here, I'll go ahead and do that as the secretary. Seems like a secretarial type thing. And I think I see Shantae just joined us also. So I've been trying to pay attention here. So I see Kathy Boyle is here. Nakia Burton Tucker, if you're here, speak up because I don't see you. Denise DeSimone, I see you. The Jam, I see you. I'm here. Sue Kerr is here. Kraus, if you're here, please speak up. I don't see you. The Britton, I think I saw Brit. Yes, Britton is here. Lenny is here. Richard Parsakian has already reported he may not make it. Is that right, Luca? And then Shantae is here now. Christopher Robinson is here. Marcus Robinson's here. Sarah Rosso. Has Sarah joined us?
Yes.
Yeah, I see Sarah. Hi, Sarah. Luca is here. Tiffany Simoneau, I don't know if she is joining us, but I haven't seen her yet. And Derek Tynes, I have not seen yet. If Derek shows up, I'll be looking for him. And Guillermo, I think I saw Guillermo. Hi, Guillermo. Roll is taken.
all right, roll is taken. I'm going to share screen and move on to our next order of business here, which is reading and approval of minutes. So we had these minutes that were sent prior to the meeting. Does anybody need to have discussion of these minutes? All
I'll
right.
make a motion to adopt the minutes as written.
Second.
All right. So I'm going to give everybody a moment to register any objections or further need for discussion. If I don't hear anything, then we will consider it to have passed by unanimous consent. So hearing no request for discussion or objection, that motion passes by unanimous consent. So moving on to reports of officers, boards, and standing committees. So the first thing that we need to discuss is the meeting with Mayor-elect Gainey and Chief of Staff. So.
Should I weigh in?
I would love for you to weigh in, Sue, because you kind of taken the lead on setting this up.
What has turned out to be one of the most complicated meeting situations. So as it stands right now, the mayor-elect and his transition team leader, Jake, who will also be the chief of staff. There's also going to be a Jake who will be the deputy mayor. So that's going to be a little confusing. But for our purposes, it's these two people. They have asked that we send 5 people to meet with them on Tuesday, December 28th, I believe, 6 o'clock in their offices in the Grant building. So we did a lot of back and forth on how to work this out and came down to the 3 co-chairs and Marcus and Kathy attending the meeting. It's one of those situations where we don't have a lot of control over how many people are there. Our goal is to get a full commission meeting or a meeting of the full commission with the mayor-elect, which will happen, I'm sure, once he's mayor. I sent that information to them, but now with the new COVID data, I'm a little worried about this because we're, well, I don't really actually look forward to being in a room with 7 or 6 people, other people even masked and triple vaxxed, but that may be a conversation at a different point in the meeting. But right now we have the meeting, we have the attendees. I really appreciate everyone who offered to participate, and certainly we tried to pick a group based on who was available and could make it work. We do need to decide what we're going to talk about. Mayor-elect Gainey has asked for a verbal report, not a written report, a verbal report on the activities of the commission, and then, you know, what we plan to do in the coming months, which is something we're going to talk about tonight. So maybe we can just kind of revisit that at the end of this meeting. And feel free to ask any questions about how this process went down, but perhaps not here, because it could take 3 or 4 hours to explain all the back and forth. And I do want to say, this is just normal stuff. It's bureaucracy, it's confusion, it's the pandemic. I don't think there was any resistance or anything like that. But I wouldn't object to changing the meeting to virtual, and then more people could participate, but I don't know how other people feel about making that ask.
I'd be okay with that, Sue. I wondered if that was a possibility.
I would also be in favor of at least making that ask. It doesn't seem that unreasonable to me, given the current state of the pandemic. Billy, your hand was up for a second.
Yes, I think I'll ditto that. I do think that if that a request to have a virtual meeting, or if someone is at a higher risk and they want to not participate in person, that option should exist. I don't know that I am a witness to the struggles around the meeting formation through the many emails. Maybe not all the struggles, but a good number of them, some of them internally with all of us, and then some among the officers. But I think that, I just want to say that I think that the delegation, we have a large commission. I think the delegation that is chosen, the 3 co-chairs are the right persons to be there. I think Marcus and Kathy, you know, if the right size is 5 in a delegation, I think that is a great delegation to represent us in an initial meeting with a mayor-elect to do some high-level presentation of what we've accomplished and what our vision is, and in some ways, perhaps what our needs are from a mayor and support for this commission. So I'm confident in these 5 commissioners doing that on our behalf, and really impressed by all 5 of them as I've gotten to know them over the last several months. And so I'm not sure that an ask to expand the meeting to meet for more people to participate is something that I'm in agreement with. I think there is the size of the meeting, that I think there is something to say about the intimacy of that group. They have an hour, and I think there will be a full commission meeting with the mayor. There should be very early on in his administration. And I think we'll have more details to present to him at that time, and that we should work together to prepare for that.
Denise, I saw your hand go up briefly. Did you want to say something? All right. Christopher's hand's definitely up.
Yes, good evening, everyone. I certainly agree, as we can move forward with the 5 individuals, and I'm certainly open to the possibility of conducting this meeting, virtually. In some aspects, I certainly see the value of meeting, in person to a degree. I think, it's just an added value to being able to connect with the administration in some capacity, to really honestly put a face with the name, and just with the commission, to be able to identify in that aspect as well. But if there's certainly concerns regarding safety and just the health and welfare of others, then, I'm certainly open to that as well. The thing that I wasn't quite clear on from what
Chris, I think you might be cutting out a little bit, either that or I.
Call at this moment. Can anyone speak to that?
I didn't hear what you said, Chris. You cut out.
Hello?
Well, let me.
Okay.
Go ahead, Chris.
Yes. No, I'm sorry. So I think my reception went out. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, please repeat the last part of what you said. Well, I'll just jump in here real quick and say, with regard to the COVID protocols, there was some uncertainty on the part of Team Gainey as to what their protocols were, which sort of surprised me that the person scheduling the meeting didn't have that information ready at hand. What I'm not sure about is how safe this is. And Broadway's closing down. Kind of seems like a indicator that I don't know what our indicator should be beyond. I don't think we should make a personal sense of comfort. I think we can all agree that an in-person meeting would be preferable under appropriate circumstances, but
I'm gonna kind of jump in for a second with an eye on the clock because we did start late and we have a number of important things that we need to get through tonight, including elections. I agree that COVID safety is very important, but maybe the thing to do might be to ask about the possibility of moving to virtual and kind of figuring the rest of it out between the delegation that's attending the meeting. Does that seem reasonable?
I think so. And I was just going to add, I think for people who, since we can't have everyone attend, if people have questions or, high priority things that come to mind that would want to be asked, I think, feel free. I think it would make sense to send. I know if we have a lot on the agenda, but maybe either sending it to the email or, anyone who's attending in advance so we can kind of put that together and make sure we have answers for those questions.
Yeah, and I think that actually will tie in pretty nicely with item C about kind of goal planning stuff in general. So let's put a pin in that and revisit it. How about next up is budget development. So Guillermo, is there anything that you need to update us on regarding budget development?
No, there are no updates since last time.
Well, that's succinct. Yay for timing. So kind of going back to goal planning and the possibility of scheduling another meeting to discuss what we want to do. So we do need to figure out what we want to bring up with Team Gainey at our meeting, which is impending. We had a really excellent goal planning meeting that Denise facilitated. And Denise, did you want to kind of summarize what we came up with at that meeting?
Sure. I agree. I think we had a very productive meeting, and one of the things that came out of it were some goals that I think everybody, it was passed around. Marcus, thank you for the response. I mean, you hit it right on the head with how you responded. So what we're looking to do with the goals is now create activities where we can measure and move forward to achieve those goals. So if anybody doesn't have the goals that we had come up with, Luca, I mean, you have them, you could send them, I can send them. But I think we hit some very strategic items that would be great for us to achieve.
Yeah, and I actually do not have the goal planning meeting kind of conclusion thing in front of me. I forgot to download that along with the other things that I was downloading for this meeting. So maybe it would be helpful to kind of give people who weren't there an update on at least what the 3 main priorities that we identified were. And I know that we had some commentary from people who weren't there. So is there anything that anybody would like to say or comment on briefly about what was identified and kind of what we concluded?
So I could go through the 5 goals that we have set. Trans employment was a goal, business consumer inequity, housing inequity, partnership and institutions, and understanding the landscape of our community. So those were the high-level goals that we wanted to achieve. So if anybody has any comments, I'll take notes.
Denise, could you repeat the last one, please?
Understanding the landscape of our community.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Is this an okay time to ask about what's not on that list?
Yeah, I think that that's an
Okay.
okay time.
So in the feedback I had is, I'm concerned that we don't have a goal about working within the city as an institution, because that's one of our functions, is to work within the city government itself to promote equity for LGBTQIA folks. So I know that is kind of an overarching theme that we're doing, but these individual steps seem to tie into that, but not specifically working on actually changing the system. And we've had conversations about some kinds of projects we could do, which I know is getting more detail oriented, but dragging this 200-year-old institution into the 21st century on LGBTQIA issues is a pretty big task. The other concern I had was about the town halls. And maybe that's the next step down, but when this was an advisory group, they had a lot of town halls. Now I've asked the mayor's office to compile all that information and share it with us, so we have that to start with, but I'm concerned that we would just be repeating a circle that I'm not anti-town hall, but I don't want to go down the same path that's been down and led nowhere.
Yeah, so to your first point, one of the goals is bettering partnerships and institutions in the city is one. The housing inequity is certainly looking to change policy. So the next step with the goals is to identify those activities. Town hall was mentioned, some other surveys were mentioned. So we're at the point now that we want to identify what activities we want to take to secure better partnerships with the institutions, the city to be one, and the policy changes in housing and employment and business consumer. Those are all city related.
Thank you. Now I have a better sense of where I could propose specific tasks.
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, we just want to get as many action items as we can. And then the second session, we'll look at all the action items and decide which ones we want to put in what order.
All right. So I think that this is kind of leading to the other thing, which is a concrete thing that we should probably do tonight, is figure out, oh, Billy.
Yeah, I didn't get to the actual hand raise button fast, but I used my real one. I think that we should set another goal planning meeting separate from this during this meeting. And I would encourage, if you haven't already, everyone to read both Sue's and Marcus's um, responses. Well, Marcus's work, he was there at the meeting, and his organization of and fleshing out some of the things that we did is really quite remarkable. And looking at that, I think, and prior to a meeting would be a very good idea, as well as the graphic that Denise shared and described. And what I'll do is not as part of the minutes, but as, when we send these out, let's resend those out so that people have them. I'll do a separate email and resend them out in an organized way as in service to Denise's leadership on this. But we should set another date for a goal planning meeting.
So a question that comes to my mind is, do we think that it's feasible to set a second meeting prior to our meeting with Mayor-elect Gainey?
Sue, did you say it was the 28th? Is that what you said, at 6 p.m.? People are
Yes,
nodding yes. Okay.
yes.
All right.
I don't think the week before Christmas is a great time for much of anything. I'm willing personally, but I know that others may have fancy
Live.
parties and wrapping and things to do.
So that means that a second meeting is probably going to kind of get kicked back to first thing in the new year. What my feeling is that therefore we're probably going to go into this meeting primarily guided by the first goal planning meeting. Is that the sense that other people have?
And anything we put together tonight for you.
Yeah. So should we insert an agenda item to put something together at this meeting tonight, or should we try instead to do it by having people send in comments?
It all depends on how much time you have for that according to the agenda, because if you still have items that require time, then you need to do that first. Otherwise, let's work on this.
Yeah, we have a lot of agenda items that need to be addressed, and I'm frankly worried about the time because we started late.
I think we could do this by email. We have to allow for the fact that the mayor-elect and Jake are probably going to do some talking
Yeah,
as well. Bringing them up to speed on who we are and what we've done so far probably will actually consume most of our time. And that would allow us to pivot toward requesting another meeting with the full commission to do this and have a methodical reason for doing so.
all right.
And then we could just take questions from everybody by email, and just the five of us can whittle it down to what's realistic and what we can get in there. And
Yeah,
I think
that seems-
I think it's important that we share the goals as we have them now, so that they understand the path that we're taking, and ask for feedback on that. Also, I think there has been a lot accomplished. They should just know about it and just wait for feedback.
All right, so we're gonna leave this at, we will plan for meeting with Mayor-elect Gainey with input to be emailed from commissioners. Second goal planning meeting still remains to be set, but should be set in early 2022. So kind of moving on, any updates from Outreach Chair about calendars, social media, and website edits?
Yeah, so I'll start. I know I asked at the beginning of this just about as you've seen, we have the Gmail account that we set up. So I know a few of you have seen it. I think any feedback, I know you all mentioned some people had some difficulty finding the meeting invitations. So, as we keep using it, just let me know and I'll kind of try to better make that available, but I'm trying to build out the calendar. The goal is to build it out with different important days for our community, as well as also things to keep on our calendar as well. But especially as we get these meetings scheduled, those will be on there. So that's an update on the calendar, but I'll pause. I know, so you had some difficulty finding the meeting invitation. So if there's anything there that I can do to make it more accessible, let me know.
Can the calendar be shared with commissioners so that it basically just gets populated into our calendars?
So that's in terms of the calendar. The website, I've got a few comments from everyone. I know one of the more important ones was about having the progress flag on there, so that we'll make sure to include it on there. So I'll work with the city to get that updated. There is a form on the website that I'm not sure where it goes or who collects the information there. So that is also on my list to figure out from there. And then finally, in terms of the social media, I know Facebook has been one that's mentioned, so I'm working on that page still. And I know there was one previously for the advisory council, but it doesn't seem to be able to get access to it. So just creating a new one there. And that will be included on the website as well. I don't know if it makes sense to talk about here about, because probably a whole other conversation. And I know my goal is to send out that meeting invitation for the social media working group, but one part of that, I think, just thinking about who has access to the social media account, but that might be something within the working group to kind of talk a little bit further and put something before the larger group once we have something there. So hopefully that made sense. Any questions, let me know.
My request is that either the day before or the morning of, a reminder email go out to all of us with the link and the passcode and all of that. I don't know what happened. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it because it's obviously just something got deleted on my end or something, but instead of me having to try to reach someone, if maybe if we did it that way. I also think having it on the calendar is great, but I couldn't find it there either. So that may be just something you program your email to do, Marcus.
Yeah, I know you can have like the reminders on there. So let me take a look at that. I know I was trying to fiddle around with it, but I'll put that on there so they can send like something an hour before and maybe even like a couple of times in advance of it as well. So that's on my list to do.
Thank you, Marcus. And we've also got updates on outreach to commissioners. So this is something that the co-chairs have supposed to have been doing, which is to set up times to chat with everybody about the commission and what we would like, what you would like from us, what we can do to help you engage. I know that I have not been as timely as I wanted to be about that. So I am apologizing to 1/3 of you in this moment. And that is my update. I don't know if Sue or Chris have anything to.
I sent my request today. So my third of you, check your email, and I'm a half a step ahead of Luca, but not that much.
I'll just add for myself, definitely have to catch up on some things as well, and planning to follow up on a few things, hopefully this week and going into next week. Very happy that it's holiday break. Praise God. For sure.
Commissioner outreach can be a post-finals activity. So at this point, that kind of gets us through those reports. So now we're going to the part where I hand this meeting over to the nomination and election committee so that they can run the election.
Thanks, Luca. Hey, everybody. So hopefully you saw the email that I sent out earlier that explained the process of how we're going to go about the elections. It will be somewhat similar to what we did a few months ago when we kind of elected our ad hoc officers, if you will. But rather than send ballots through a chat, we're going to send them via email, which then we'll print and we'll turn over to the mayor's office and print to save hard copies of and to document everything that that transpires. So if you saw the email that I sent, we asked that you do have email capabilities this evening. As we go through each of the officers, we will first we'll take nominations, then we'll turn to elections. We'll do each of the four offices in succession. We'll start with the co-chairs, and I would ask that that you email the group email your choices. There'll be 3 when we go for co-chairs because there are 3 of them. Make sure you please put in the subject line co-chair LGBTQIA co-chair ballot so that we can itemize them that way. And I know which one it is I'm looking at and open it up as I go through them. But then we'll take, I'll collect those ballots. The 3 of us, Sarah, Jam, and I will go into a breakout room, and there we'll tabulate the ballots, and then we'll come back into this room and report on the results, and then we'll move on to the next office. So, Luca, go ahead.
Just for clarification, is the group email pghlgbtqia@gmail.com? Where are we sending the email?
I thought that it was, but Billy's shaking his head no.
If you,
I'm going to email the email address to all of you right now, just so you have the correct address. It starts, I don't think you said it right though, Luca. That's why I shook my head. Maybe you did.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah, right.
Yeah. So I'll just email it to you right now so that you have it, since we don't have like a way to post it in chat.
I'm trying to open mine back up now and take a look at it. Somewhere. There we go. Right, it is LGBTQIA Commission PGH@gmail.com. That's the one we'll be using.
Thank you. There is another very similar one that exists on Gmail.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so while Billy's getting the email address out to everyone, why don't we open up with nominations? We'll start with co-chairs. I'm going to presume, or I'm going to nominate myself, the 3 sitting co-chairs, Sue, Chris, and Luca. Are there any other nominations for co-chairs? Okay, well, hearing none, you will vote for 3, which clearly are going to be the 3 that are already seated. So, and you can put them all in the same ballot. So please, if you could go to your email now and email the group account. Again, put LGBTQIA Commission co-chair ballot in the subject line or something similar. And then we'll collect those and tabulate them. Then we'll get back to you guys with or back to everyone with the results.
Billy, did you send that email yet? Because I didn't get it.
I just hit send as you were saying that.
Okay, thank you.
Might be 4 seconds.
Mine just came through. Okay, so.
I'm on my work computer and I don't have all your contacts in my contact book on this computer. I have it on my home computer. So I was scrambling to get your email addresses. That's why the small delay there. Life is frantic sometimes. I'll pipe down and vote now.
Hey, everyone. So Billy, this is probably a question that's best directed to you. The three of us discussed it, and we thought as members of the nomination and election committee that it would be appropriate for us to not vote and remain neutral in the elections. Is that accurate, or should we have voted?
You have a right to vote. You can vote. You're a commissioner and you have a right to vote. And I think we all honor your statement of trying to make sure that our elections are neutral and secure and objective, but I don't think that commitment to that deprives you of your right to vote.
Okay, well, given that we're at quorum, even without the three of us voting, is it okay that we not go back and revote for co-chairs and we just move on for the sake of time?
As long as, I mean, to be elected, you must have a majority of the votes, and
we do.
Yeah, so if there's however many.
We're at 9.
Okay, all right. You do the math, I trust.
Yeah, I mean, we're at 9. So I'm happy to report, congratulations, co-chairs. It was unanimous amongst the 9 votes that we received. All 3 of you all received votes. So it was 9s across the board. Congratulations and thank you for serving.
And thanks for electing us again.
When is our inauguration?
We have to get with the Secret Service and start beginning the preparations. All right, so then we will move on to secretary. Of course, Billy Howman is our current serving secretary. Are there any other nominations? Anyone else interested in serving or have an idea of someone else that they would like to see nominated? All right, hearing none, Billy will be the lone candidate. We still need to vote. So if you would once again go to your email and email the group account, this time put subject line LGBTQIA Commission Secretary ballot or something along those lines. Send that, and the 3 of us will jump back over to our breakout room and tabulate these, and we will be back in a few minutes. Thank you.
I feel like we need Steve Kornacki here talking us through the outcomes. Does everyone know who Steve Kornacki is?
I do not.
He's this great, I don't even know, statistician, is that what he is? He's on MSNBC, he's a journalist, he's gay, and he is the coolest guy ever. He gets so excited about election results. And
so he's like Nate Silver, only better.
Yeah, I am. Rachel Maddow thinks he's better, so that's quite an endorsement.
So is he the guy who's like on television who gets like really super excited when he's like flying through the screens of like the election results? I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Leslie, the comedian from SNL, whose name I can't think of her last name. I just know, yeah, you know who I mean. Leslie, the very tall woman she's not on anymore, but she loves Steve Kornacki. she's a really big fan of his, and he actually did couple cycles ago, he did the election. He had a dislocated shoulder and he still came in and did the whole thing. So Kathy, look at your cat.
Yeah, that's bad, Charlie. That's bad, Charlie boy. Yeah, I find Steve a little hard to take sometimes, especially the later it gets on election night. I want him to just shut up. You know? So,
There's Charlie again.
yeah, and he is bad. He is, and very loving, but he is probably the baddest cat in the universe.
Bad Charlie is an incredible name.
Yeah, if he can find something bad to do, by gum, he's gonna do that. Nothing is safe from Charlie. Cardboard boxes, doesn't matter, destroys them. And is a water cat, so he's always having me run water for him so he can try to keep it from going down the drain. So he will sit in the kitchen sink for half an hour and let me pour water, and he's very content. What can I tell you? He's weird. He's from Indiana, PA. You know, that's
So Kathy, since he's from Indiana, I wonder, does your cat do what we call an IUP? I usually party all the time. Have fun.
yes. You know, my wife is from Indiana County or Indiana,
I didn't know
PA.
that.
Yeah, and so I, you know, I know what they do up there.
Do you know that Indiana Borough, I guess it is, has an openly gay council member?
No.
He was one of the first elected in a rural Western Pennsylvania and most of rural PA, I believe. And I'm blanking on his name right now, but this is even better. He's a climate scientist. So he is like studying climate crisis. He's not from Pittsburgh. He's from Chicago. He's been divorced twice and he got elected. So it's like the last person you would think would break that glass ceiling, and he did, because he's been teaching them how to use solar energy and accessing federal grants, infrastructure grants, to help the borough become more self-sufficient. So Chris is his name. But he doesn't like to come to Pittsburgh because it's not Chicago. That's what he tells me. So,
This is true. It's not Chicago by any means.
I was like, but Indiana is like
really?
Well, you know, Indiana's a true definition of a college town, like in many different ways. And you know, being up there for 5 years myself, you know, I've grown to love it. So it's definitely a place from home to a degree.
Did
now,
you
was he
go
a
to
professor?
school up there, Chris?
Yes, ma'am.
At IUP?
That's where I earned my doctorate at IUP. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they're from 2012 to 2017.
Well, God bless.
Yeah. Don't remind me.
How many couches did you set on fire during your graduate experience?
None, but I've had to put out a few.
Wow.
Hey, everyone. All right, we are, or at least coming back. The vote tabulation has changed. Sarah also cast a vote. Of course, I shouldn't have said that because it should have remained anonymous, and I apologize, Sarah, but once again now, so the total is 10. Once again, all votes are unanimous. Billy was unanimously reelected, I guess, to his position. So congratulations. Once again, thank you for serving. And we will now move on to treasurer. I nominate Guillermo to remain as treasurer. Are there any other nominations? Okay, hearing none. Please email the account, this time with LGBTQIA treasurer ballot. And We'll tabulate those and be back. Thank you.
This is like our nice little social time that we've all said we wanted.
Which I so wish was in person.
Yeah. I don't think that's going to happen for a while. I saw some data out of South Africa that on the Omicron variant that it's the vaccine, I guess Pfizer is 30% effective against preventing it, but about 70% about in mitigating. However, they don't have any results on Moderna or J&J because South Africa didn't receive those vaccines. So we have shot ourselves in the foot in terms of gathering data by how we've treated really North American countries or European. And I mean, the Moderna is still pretty good. But apparently the 30% is acceptable because it keeps people from getting desperately ill. So
Yeah, I mean, the purpose of the vaccines kind of going into the vaccination scheme isn't so much to prevent anyone from contracting COVID. It's more to prevent people from becoming desperately ill with COVID and ending up in the hospital. So by that measure, they seem to still be holding up pretty well, even with Omicron. There's also a British study that was published recently that, they don't have as robust data as South Africa because Omicron took longer to get there than it did in South Africa. But the British study is kind of the first preliminary data that we have about Moderna, and it indicated, I think if you received a booster dose, that it went up to about 81% in preventing severe
Yay.
disease. So Team Moderna.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that they're supposed to have Omicron specific boosters out sometime in the first quarter of 2022 was the prediction I saw.
I'm in a room with 4 cats. We have three of our foster kittens and one of our regular cats is in here. And this is the only time that they're not trying to get on camera. When I could entertain you with the Fine View felines and Helena Cassadine, which I think is one of the best cat names ever. I don't know if any of you are Cassadine aficionados.
I was at the Highland Park dog park today with my dog, and there was a dog there named Bingo. And it was so hard to talk to Bingo without singing the song. It was just, it's been an animal kind of day.
My dog's name is Ruthless Baby Ginsburg.
Ah, it's great.
Well, in foster care, the foster cat world, there's a lot of rules about what you can name your animals because of paperwork. They can't have 15 Twinkles or Luckies or anything like that. So I decided to name all of our foster kittens and my feral cats after soap opera characters because no one uses those names. So
We have breaking news, Sue. We have breaking news.
Sorry, I'll save my
Some precincts reporting.
This just in a shocking development, Guillermo has been reelected 9-0. Congratulations, Guillermo, and thank you. We appreciate your hard work. All right, so we're going to move on to outreach, our final office. Our currently serving Outreach Coordinator is Marcus. Are there any other nominations? Anyone else interested in serving or would like to see someone else serve? All right. Hearing none, we will jump back over into our breakout room. Please email your ballots. Once again, this time it'll be what? LGBTQIA Commission Outreach Coordinator ballot. Thank you. Be back quick soon.
So I did a fun thing this weekend. The Jagoff podcast decided to hold a fake parade since the holiday parade is on permanent hiatus, I think. Celebrate the seasons. And I've always wanted to be in it as a guest, not just as a kid in the marching band. So they did a parade over here on the north side where the parade people stood still, and then they drove around in a truck and interviewed us. And of course, Rick Seaback was there, and Doug Oster, and Mancini's Bakery, and my nephew came with me, and he was quite disappointed because he did not understand the concept very well, apparently, and thought that we were boring. But I was pretty excited. I feel like that's like low-level Pittsburgh famous, is a parade in the parking lot of Johnny Angel's Ginchi Museum in the rain.
Sounds like a lot of fun. There's a Johnny Angel Museum.
He owns Bicycle Heaven,
Ah,
and next to it is his museum. And oh my God. Everyone over 30 would love that place. Like, it's just filled with memorabilia to the hilt. So if you need something to do. And I met a rapper from Pittsburgh named Frizzy. Does anyone know Frizzy? He set the world record for the longest consecutive rapping, and he rapped about Mr. Rogers, and it's actually pretty good. He was my tent mate, and my nephew was with me, and he was sort of impressed with Frizzy. He liked the fact that he had cat tattoos on his arms, but
So was he the gentleman who, I guess, rapped at one of the malls or something for like
Yes.
hours at a time?
Yeah, that's the Guinness Book thing. So
I will call.
he's very nice. Just, he was a lot of fun and great, it was really, and I've been listening to some of his music and stuff, but he's an ally. So I think that he's somebody, at some point in the future would be good to approach, because he's building up a nice national base. And my nephew wasn't impressed, but he's 10, so. He also wasn't impressed with Johnny Angel or Santa Claus, because Santa Claus had on green. It took a lot of explaining. Who else has pets? Tell us about your pets. It can't just be Kathy and I. That's way too trite.
I have a dog. I have an Australian Shepherd,
Oh,
and I have a goldfish. That is the longest living goldfish, I think, Guinness Book of World Records.
wow.
Yeah.
what is your dog's name?
My kids named the dog Kane because I got it for him at Christmas time. So it was Candy Cane, shortened to Kane. I had another dog for 16 years that died, and we couldn't stand it, so we had to get him.
Hey everyone, it's Sarah. Just a quick reminder, We're still waiting on a couple of votes to come in to get to quorum. So if you haven't sent your vote, or please do that now. So like I said, we're still waiting on a couple of votes to get to quorum. So if you could make sure that you email us your ballot, that would be great. And if the city folks wouldn't mind sending me back to a breakout room. Oh, I'm good. I got it. Thank you.
I
So
wrote
Sarah-
mine and forgot to hit send, so.
Sarah did that little Steve Kornacki moment where it was like breaking one little teeny district in
Yeah,
rural Iowa just made some decision that has no impact on anyone.
I'm personally grateful for the slight delay because it meant that I got to finish cramming all of the Harvest crisps into my face. So thank you.
Well, Harvest crisps. What are those?
They're like little chip-like crunchy snack things that aren't quite as bad as just housing an entire bag of chips. Not that I won't also house a bag of chips given half a chance.
So regarding pets, I have a cat who only speaks Spanish. So if you go to my house, he will not understand you. He's actually from Mexico. I brought him from Mexico. He still believes he's in Mexico.
Maybe he really is. And we're the ones who are delusional about that. What is your cat's name?
Carmelito. Like Carmelites, Carmelito.
Huh?
It was given by a convent.
Huh.
Of course. I think the backstories of the names are always part of the fun.
My mom had a dog at one point, and the dog didn't have a very interesting name. His name was Scotty, but my brother was in college studying Middle Eastern studies at the time, and he like taught the dog Turkish, and the dog would only respond to Turkish, and nobody else could speak the Turkish language.
That's wonderful. All right, so we are concluded. So all the votes are in. I added a vote this time. So the final tabulation was unanimous. Marcus received 10 votes and is reelected. Thank you very much and congratulations. Officers, thank you for being willing to step up and lead us. It's really important work, and you all taking the lead. It's very important to all of us. So thank you so much. And is there anything else that we need to talk about before we turn it back over to Luca? All right, then Luca, I'm going to turn it back to you. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome. And I would like to really extend sincere thanks to Lenny, Jam, and Sarah for stepping up and being this year's nomination on election committee and making the election happen. So yay, thank you. Time
I have
is
a bunch
now
of emails to forward.
Time is now growing short. So we have a number of items that we are pretty much not going to get to, but there are some things that we absolutely must get to. So the first thing on our unfinished business list is city council redistricting. Bruce is not here. We don't have any current updates on that. So let us kick that can down the road if nobody has any objections to that idea. Similarly, reporting conflict of interest is something that we're going to have to get around to in the new year, but we don't have any clear motions about or suggestions about what to do with it. So I think that we should kick that can down the road as well. Something that we do have to do before the end of the year is year-end report. So we do need to make some kind of a report by the end of the year. I know that Mayor-elect Gainey has requested a verbal report. I don't know if that is sufficient because I think that we are supposed to write a year-end report and submit it to, you know, Mayor Peduto's office before the inauguration. So we should do that. So the things that are on the agenda is to establish a subcommittee to schedule a meeting, and that people should send in items to be noted on the year-end report. Do we need to move to establish the subcommittee?
I don't think we need a formal motion for that. I think you can just go ahead and do it.
Okay.
You know, ask for volunteers for the committee.
Are there any individuals who are interested in taking the lead on this particular subcommittee?
I'm not offering, I'm jumping in to say that we really would like to see people on the committee, on the commission, take advantage of these leadership opportunities, that the 6 members executive committee want to invite everyone to be as involved as you possibly can. So this is one such opportunity. Okay, that being said, I'll volunteer.
So will
I'll
I.
help you. All right.
I'd
Anyone else
help.
who wants to join us is definitely welcome.
So I'm willing to help as well.
All right. Kathy, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I'd be willing to help.
Okay. Do we want to
Does it
schedule a
make
meeting?
sense that the,
Go ahead,
I
Sue.
was just gonna say, it's like the 5 people go into this meeting with Team Gainey, so maybe we could just do those 2 things at once, a planning meeting and working on this report. It's kind of the same thing anyway, so.
Yeah, it's a very closely overlapping constituency. So let's do that. And I think that we can schedule amongst ourselves via email because it's, you know, it's going to end up being a total of 6 people because Billy is also going to be interested in year-end report stuff. All right, does that work for everyone? All right, brief status updates on existing projects. So this is kind of like closing out the year business. Any news about the Pirates?
I haven't had an update from Bruce, but I've been contacted by the Pirates through P-Flag National about the issue, and I've been waiting to hear from Bruce before I responded to them. So I guess I would count that as some progress, but not anything definitive at this point.
Thank you, Sue. And health department bathrooms, I do not have any updates at this time regarding the health department or bathrooms. So moving on to new business. A thing that we must do is to set meeting dates and times for the first quarter of 2022. This time clearly works for the people who are in the room. Have we heard anything about preferred times from other people?
I don't know that we've solicited that. I recommend that we follow the pattern that we have. You know, I think we're doing the 3rd Thursday at 5:30, and that the executive board meets 2 weeks prior to set the agenda to get it out to the commissioners prior to the meeting. I think we should do that for January, and early in January send out, you know, figure out how to do a poll to see if there's an interest in a different time or day. But yes, I think it's pretty obvious that the people who have been showing up here, it somewhat works for them at least, even if it's painful at times.
So I was just going to add, I think, Luca, you sent an email out for soliciting some feedback at some point. And I know we got a couple of emails, or maybe that wasn't someone, we got a couple of emails in response to preferred availability. And I think if those people want to share, I think in my mind, from what I remember when I looked through, there were a couple of people who mentioned, you know, maybe the rotating might be more accessible as an option. But we did get a couple of comments in terms of preferred meeting times.
Yeah, so I'm looking at that thread. I did the comment that I got in my email, and I don't know if the commission email got more that I didn't get.
I think that's what it was.
Yeah. Yeah, the only one that I received in my email was from Richard, who said that that time mostly worked for him and that maybe we should do a doodle and not conflict with other commissions.
I'm just going to take a look at my notes that I jotted down. But if anyone feels comfortable sharing some of their comments that they sent in, feel free to do so.
Yeah, and in the meantime, I think that Billy's suggestion is likely to be a good one. I think that it might need to be voted on, but I'm not sure about that.
I make a motion that we use let's look at the calendar in advance. I mean, well, during discussion, we can look at the calendar, but I make a motion for the third Thursday at 5:30. The executive committee can meet in advance.
Second.
All right, is there any discussion that needs to happen around this motion? That meeting would be on January 20th. Are there any important days that people can think of that are January 20th?
I'd propose that someone volunteer to go through the calendar to look to see if there's specifically any high holy days or anything like that we might interfere with, and then just report back. And we may make individual exceptions if we have to, because I know that some observations do change. I'll be happy to do that if that's okay. I'll just let you know if there's any conflicts that I can see.
Was that a comment, vote no against setting the 20th or vote yes?
I'd vote yes, with the caveat of I'll just double check if there's any conflicts and we can just address it next month.
Okay, so we are planning on doing the 20th, assuming that there are no major holidays or any other severe conflicts of interest that would preclude that. Are there any objections to this plan? All right, hearing no objections, I'm going to say that that motion can pass and that we will meet on the 20th and the executive committee will meet 2 weeks prior to the 20th. All right, so the next thing that we need to talk about that needs to be talked about is Billy's bylaw amendment. So, sorry, my computer is doing a thing that I didn't want it to do. So did people read and familiarize themselves with this amendment? you want to recap it a little bit, Billy, for like 2 minutes?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to delete the sections. I think I can screen share it and then let me think, yeah, I can screen
Oh.
share.
I can screen share the document that you sent because I have that.
All right, well, so the motion is to delete 1.4.6, 1.4.7, and 1.4.8 from the article that is describing the makeup of the commission. The makeup of the commission is defined by law. What happened that leads to this, what I would think is just a housekeeping item really, is that the city posted in the city code what appears to me to be an earlier version of the commission, and with these 3 additional seats, active in the faith community, immigrant, and you scroll down, so I'm not reading them.
Sorry.
And active in the theater and arts. That does not exist on our commission. It is not in the final legislation, and it no longer is in the city code. The error that I made was I used what was posted on the city in the city code. That was my mistake. So I put this in our draft and we adopted it. And then I noticed that it is different than the city code has since been updated. So I did email everybody 3 documents. One is the May 2021 city code thing that I used to put into our bylaws, and then also the legislation. If you go to the city website and just get the city council legislation, just search for our legislation, then it is absent these 3 of the 8. There's only 5 defined seats for these specific roles or representatives, and so it's just we need to take it out because it doesn't align with the city code. It's not useful, particularly when our bylaws are posted on our website. It's an oddity to have something in there that's different than the law.
Yeah.
I wish I had noticed it earlier, but I didn't.
I mean, how dare you not notice that the thing that was posted was not the correct thing? But yeah, I think that having been noticed, it probably definitely needs to be corrected. Does anyone have any further questions or concerns about fixing the bylaws to reflect the reality of the law?
I don't have any, objection. My only real question is, my understanding of the bylaws is that if we wanted to, and most of the bylaws is doing this, we can make rules for ourselves that go beyond what's in city code. So I guess my question is, what is the concern about specifying further which members we would like to see on the commission?
Well, I don't know that if we had a common interest to expand, and it doesn't have, I mean, we have some members that are just identified, I think, as community members sort of generically. I think that we can do that as a commission and make a recommendation to the mayor and city council to do so, perhaps by passing our own resolution and putting it forward to them. If we believe that there was a need, that would be, I think, in the realm of what the commission might do. But I don't think that the vehicle to do that is to write it into the bylaws as if it existed. I think that after we successfully lobbied and perhaps accomplished our goal in expanding the commission, that we would then add it into the bylaws.
Yeah, I think also advocating for change in that way could set us up for a bad situation down the road because we don't actually get direct control over who makes up the commission. That's the mayor's call. So if we have it in our bylaws that there has to be, for example, somebody who represents the faith community, and the mayor, when appointing new commissioners, does not appoint anyone who could be said to represent that community, then that sets us up for kind of like a tense situation.
I mean, that answers all of my questions. The only thing that, so this section is more definition of what it is that we are as opposed to prescribing things that we do.
I agree with that statement.
Got it.
Is there any further discussion? All right. So if there's no further discussion or objections to this proposal, I would say that the bylaw amendment passes.
Okay, I will update them and share the corrected version. Marcus and Sue and I will do our chore of signing them. You're muted, Luca.
Sorry, everyone. So going back to kind of new business, we've got Media List Social Media Working Group. So Marcus, was that something that we wanted to try to put together at this meeting, or is this an expression of interest type of deal?
I think it's just a reminder for me, for the group, when we meet, this is something, one of the higher priority items we'll want to work through.
Okay. Yeah, and I think that these other things are also kind of similar. So like looking ahead to statement days and notifying secretary and outreach chair so they can go on the calendar. I think that was mostly a piece of business to remind everyone present that if there are days that are particularly important to your subset of our community, that definitely letting Billy and Marcus know about them is a great plan, and then they can go on the calendar and we can get a statement out if that's what we would like to do, or, you know, otherwise recognize that day.
We should set a deadline for January. Any particular days in January that someone may want to acknowledge, that perhaps by, I don't know, December 20th, that you submit that, so we have a chance to try to get it crafted and put out, if that's where we decide to go.
I think that's reasonable. Okay, so if there's a January day, let us know sooner rather than later, by the 20th. Planning social events is another thing that came up. So there's been a lot of discussion about wanting to have social events. There's also been a lot of discussion about the pandemic, which is continuing to rage and entering a new phase. This puts us at kind of an impasse. It is 7:09. I don't know that we are going to solve this conundrum in the next 5 minutes. So I think that it's probably best addressed with its own dedicated space in the January meeting. Does anybody want to briefly touch on it, or should we just punt on it?
An issue I just want to bring up is that everything that's been proposed so far has been in a bar. And I think that if someone's going to propose something that's in a setting where alcohol is served, that perhaps they could also propose something that's in a location where alcohol is not served, to respect members of our group who may be sober or just perhaps not comfortable in a bar setting.
All right. So anything else to add about that, or shall we move on and ask if anyone has any announcements? I'm going to move on. I'm going to ask if anyone has any announcements so that we can discuss social events in January.
Yes, I do have a quick announcement. I know in our last meeting, we had conversations about doing something for World AIDS Day in terms of, for example, potentially having like UPMC light up the US Steel building as far as the signage is concerned. And I'm just sharing this with the group. From my understanding, I'm going to check it just a little further and dig a little deeper, but received an email from the vice president of marketing that said that that may not be a possibility, that there's been some concerns about the branding and things of that nature, and that that they're no longer doing that. And to my own, recollection, I don't recall seeing any of the signage on the steel building being lit up in different colors or any type of different displays in some time now. So it's something that our department in the Center for Engagement and Inclusion is going to kind of look a little deeper into as well, to see exactly if that's something we could possibly change as we get closer towards Pride Month and a few other upcoming events going into the summer as well. On another note, I know that we've also talked about possibly potentially launching a needs assessment for the community as well. And I wasn't quite sure if that's something we can talk about a little bit further going into our January meeting, to be able to explore that in terms of like the early stages, steps that can be taking place. And I think that there's a couple of groups, either through like UPMC, University of Pittsburgh, and even also through Penn State, that who possibly could be able to provide some support and research support and being able to help launch this type of study or this type of needs assessment as well. So just thinking it's something we can talk about a little bit further as we go into the new year.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point, Chris. And I think that also like that's something that we should definitely talk about when we have our second goal planning meeting, because that's
Absolutely.
like very specific activity sort of thing.
Mhm.
And we can put our heads together and make sure that we know or don't know the same people at UPMC, so that we can kind of like get everyone on board, hopefully.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Problem.
Anyone else?
Yeah, but well, earlier, Guillermo didn't have a report on budget development, but he's not going to be able to unless we convene perhaps a committee and work on budget development. It can't be all on him, of course. And there is, the money that is appropriated. Hopefully, I mean, I think there's some confirmation of that has to happen in city council, perhaps. I don't really know where it is in the pipeline, but we're going to have a budget for 22. And we're also, there's apparently money for at least part-time staff that is separate from the 57,000 that was noted. And so I think that we should, in January, figure out how to convene a working group for that purpose. Because UPMs, I mean, researchers who may do assessments or other things on our behalf, we may need to contract with them to do that. I mean, but we should begin. And I know, I mean, some of us might have more experience in this than others, and some of us are complete novices. So I think it's going to be a learning experience for all of us. But I think we need to do that early. Otherwise, we'll start to be into the year, and it won't feel right if we aren't doing that.
Yeah. So as secretary and secretary-elect Billy, I charge you with remembering that so that we put it in the agenda. All right. Any further announcements before we adjourn? All right, so I'm going to say that this meeting is now over. I'm sorry to have kept you late, but thank you for those of you who came and who hung with us and persevered. And have a good night, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everybody. Thanks,
Luca.
Luca. Bye.